गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदा नन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदा नन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव माधव राधे जय राधा बिहारी राधे जय गौरांगी बैंगलोरेश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथ जय देवा सुभद्रा माई जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरि नाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शत। His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya, BBD founder Acharya, Savior of the whole universe, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stotra Shata. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ षड गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंग माय की जय। जमुना माय की जय। कावेरी माय की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतें यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees to this wonderful Wednesday morning class. Very, very interesting class that we're going to read today. And let me just put up the shloka for you. Just allow me to share my screen with you. Just give me 1 minute. We are on the shloka. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, and the chapter is called Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, and we are going to read text number 33.
प्रभु जी बोलना है। प्रभु जी
हाँ प्रभु जी
बोलूं? आप पढ़ेंगे? मैं हमको बोलना है।
जरूर श्लोक बोलिए आप।
अर्थाश्रयत्वं शब्दस्य दृष्टलिङ्गत्वमेव च तन्मात्रत्वं न च नभसो लक्षणं कवयो विदुः। एक और पढ़, एक और श्लोक पढ़ रहे हैं प्रभु जी।
आप पढ़िए प्रभु जी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
अर्थाश्रयत्वं शब्दस्य दृष्टं लिङ्गत्वमेव च तस्मात् तन्मातृत्वं च नभयोश लक्षणं कवयो विदुः। सॉरी ब्रो, मेरा रीडिंग इतना अच्छा नहीं है।
कोई दिक्कत नहीं, आप पढ़िए प्रभु जी, आपके मन से आप पढ़ रहे हैं तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, बहुत अच्छा पढ़ रहे हैं।
कोई माता जी पढ़ रहे हैं, माता जी।
अर्थाश्रयत्वं शब्दस्य अर्थाश्रयत्वं शब्दस्य द्रष्टुर्लिङ्गात्वम् एव च। नेक्स्ट लाइन दिख नहीं रहा, नेक्स्ट लाइन मैं कर दे। नेक्स्ट
इंग्लिश वाला नहीं पढ़ने के दे रहा हूं।
तन्मात्रत्वं च नभसो लक्षणं कवयो विदुः। Should I read one more time, Prabhu?
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. अर्थाश्रयत्वं शब्दस्य द्रष्टुर्लिङ्गत्वमेव च तन्मात्रत्वं च नभसो लक्षणं कवयो विदुः।
अर्थाश्रत्वं शब्दस्य दृष्ट्वा लिङ्गत्वम् एव च तन्मात्रत्वं च नाभसो लक्षणं कवयो विदुः. Word to word translation. Artha ashratvam, that which conveys the meaning of an object. Sabdasya, of the sound. Dvasvo, of the speaker. Lingatvam, that which indicates the presence. Eva, also. Cha, and. Tatmatratvam, the subtle elements. Cha, and. Naghasha, of ether. Lakshanam, definition. Kavya, learned person. Vidu, known. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Persons who are learned and who have true knowledge define sound as that which conveys the idea of an object, indicates the presence of a speaker, screened from our view, and constitutes the subtle form of ether. Purport. It is very clear herein that as soon as we speak of hearing, there must be a speaker. Without a speaker, there is no question of hearing. Therefore, the Vedic knowledge, which is known as Shruti, or that which is received by hearing, is also called Apaurusha. Apaurusha means not spoken by any person materially created. It is stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Rida. The sound of Brahma or Veda was first impregnated into heart of Brahma, the original learned man, Adi Kavaye. How did he become learned? Whenever there is learning, there must be a speaker and the process of hearing. But Brahma was the first created being who spoke to him. Since no one was there, who was the spiritual master to give knowledge? He was the only living creature. Therefore, the Vedic knowledge was imparted within his heart by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone as Paramatma. Vedic knowledge is understood to be spoken by Supreme Lord, and therefore it is free from the defects of material understanding. Material understanding is defective, and if we hear something from a conditioned soul, it is full of defects. All material and mundane information is tainted by illusion, error, cheating, and imperfection of senses. Because Vedic knowledge was imparted by the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to material creation, it is perfect. If we receive that Vedic knowledge from Brahma in disciplic succession, then we receive perfect knowledge. Every word we hear has a meaning behind it. As soon as we hear the word water, there is a substance, water, behind the word. Similarly, as soon as we hear the word God, there is a meaning to it. If we receive that meaning and explanation of God from God Himself, then it is perfect. But if we speculate about the meaning of God, it is imperfect. Bhagavad Gita, which is the science of God, is spoken by the personality of Godhead Himself. This is perfect knowledge. Mental speculators or so-called philosophers who are researching what actually God will never understand the nature of God. The science of God has to be understood in disciplic succession from Brahma, who was the first instructed about knowledge of God by God himself. We can understand the knowledge of God by hearing Bhagavad Gita from a person authorized in disciplic succession. When we speak of seeing, there must be a form. By our sense perception, the beginning of experience is the sky. Sky is the beginning of form, and from the sky, other forms emanate. Therefore, the object of knowledge and sense perception begins from the sky. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Shloka number 33 of chapter 26, chapter titled The Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, and the cantos, third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the status quo. Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunakantam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Raguna Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vichakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So a very important shloka today that we are reading, and it gives us a very important understanding of what and how we have to really look at the sound. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes it here. And when we read the purport, or let's read the translation once again, which gives us the knowledge, persons who are learned and who have true knowledge define sound as that which conveys the idea of an object, indicates the presence of a speaker, screened from our view, and constitutes the subtle form of ether. This chapter, the fundamental principles of material nature, Kapil Dev, is speaking to his mother Devahuti, as to how the material nature came into existence from Mahat. And it was also talking about various areas of this material nature and how to deal with them and how to understand them. Well, we've been discussing this chapter for some time now, and the previous chapters also that we discussed. Kapila Dev was himself the personality of Godhead, and he could have given some interpretation to what Mother Devahuti was asking. But then when Mother Devahuti asked him questions, he said, I have already spoken this knowledge many yugas back, many years back. And I would want to repeat the same knowledge. He did not say that, I'm going to give you this knowledge, I'm going to concoct something, or I'm going to give you something new, or I'm going to derive something new. No. So that's the understanding that we take here, that Kapila Muni, by himself, the personality of Godhead, did not want to break what he had already given. So he said, I've spoken about this to Sun God Vivaswan. And whatever I've given to Vivaswan earlier, I would like to give it to you now at this point of time, which is something to be really understood, saying that it has to come in disciplic succession. Not only that it has to be in disciplic succession, we also say as it is, as it was given by the Lord himself. Here the example is given. The Lord is giving us by his practical example, or being his, not speaking again about it, but just saying that I've spoken about this earlier and I'm going to repeat it. So for devotees, it is very important that we say that this is spoken by our Guru Maharaj, this is spoken by the Parampara, this is spoken by Srila Prabhupada and the previous Acharyas and Krishna himself, and that is what is the knowledge that we're going to give it to you. So, when this material nature came into existence, it was from the unmanifested lump of matter, and one by one, all the elements came into the material world. In this verse, it says how sound came into existence is being described. Here it is said that by the agitation of elements of egoism in ignorance. Please understand this. This is very nicely put up. He says here, it is the agitation of elements of egoism in ignorance. It's a combination of ego, ignorance, sound came into existence, which is the first thing. And it is the subtle form, or it is the subtle form of ether. Egoism and in ignorance, we have to really see what is the purpose and what is the importance of sound. Srila Prabhupada said, sound is the first thing that came to existence, and the entire knowledge of material world is by sound. And this is very sound can free us from the material world, which is also the cause of our entanglement from liberation. Yeah, it is causing us entanglement in this material world. It is not allowing us to get liberated. So there are two things that this material sound that we see is the cause of entanglement in the material world. At the same time, if it is the spiritual sound, then that is the cause of our liberation from the material, or it is the cause of our freedom from this material world. And if we approach the sound of the spiritual world, we can end all our miseries. If the sound is purified, it can be the cause of liberation. And that is where it is said that hearing is very, very, very important. For material knowledge also, we go to school, we understand from a teacher. And there also, we want to understand it from a proper source. So, when we go to a school, we don't hear from the peon, we don't hear from the security guard, we don't hear from the person in the cafeteria, but we hear it from the teacher. So a teacher is a proper source of knowledge in the material world. Likewise, in the spiritual world also, we have to hear it from the right source. So Srila Prabhupada says that in the spiritual world, it is important to hear from a bona fide person. In the material world, we say it is important to hear from the right source or the proper source. But in the spiritual world, it is very important for us to hear from the bona fide persons. So these are the differences that one needs to pick up very subtly, saying that in the material world, we hear from a proper source, but whereas in the spiritual world, we hear it from a bona fide person. Very nicely said in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, it says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasuyo vidu. So the supreme science, the purport or the I would read the translation for this. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. The saintly kings understood it in that way, but in course of time, the succession was broken. Yeah. And therefore, this appears to have been lost. It is actually not lost. It just appears that it is lost. And then Krishna says, I come here again to give you that knowledge. So to get the knowledge from the parampara, which has been started by Krishna himself. Now, many times we have this question, a lot of people ask us also, and for us, when we go out in book distribution, we say, please take this Bhagavad Gita. It is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. Why do we call it as it is? Because it is as was spoken by Krishna. We give this clarification. We show them the whole parampara, lineage that we have, that initially Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years back by Krishna to Vivaswan, and then it followed in the parampara as it comes down. And our Acharya, Sri Prabhupada, founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, gave this knowledge again to the world. And he made, he made the translation in so many languages so that people can really understand it very easily. So parampara hearing is very perfect. That is where it is liberating. And that's called the descending process of hearing. It is coming from top to bottom. Whereas the material knowledge is ascending process. We try to speculate, we try to put up whatever is there in our mind. We say, it may be, it could be, it would have been. No. In Bhagavad Gita, you don't find such sentences. Krishna speaks very clearly. He says, this is what it is. Yeah. And material knowledge is ascending process, as we said. Plus, again, it comes with 4 defects. What are the 4 defects? The 4 defects are we have imperfect senses, we have cheating propensity, and we are committing so many mistakes. And we have this tendency of being under illusion. So Vedic knowledge, which comes from hearing, is also known as Shruti, as Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes in this sloka. In the past, there were also people who were there and who would want to take knowledge. But then they were so sharp that those days we did not have pen, pencil, they did not even have to write down. Even if it is spoken once, they would hear it all their life, and all their life was very long duration. So it is just their ears were their instruments. No paper, no pencil, no laptop, nothing, no iPods, nothing, no recording material, not at all. Likewise, if we see 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam were memorized by Sutta Goswami and repeated to all the rishis at Naimisharanya just by hearing once from Shukadeva Goswami. So that's the kind of knowledge or Shruti that people would have, because they were very, very sharp. But in this material world, our life is alpa ayusha. We are very short-lived. Sorry. Manda sumada matayo. Manda bhagyahi upadriya. Power to hear once and remember is not there at all. In this age of Kali, it is said men will have very short lives. They are very quarrelsome, they are lazy, they are misguided, they are unlucky, and above all, they are always disturbed. This is the translation which is given to text number 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1 and Chapter 1, where the shloka is very nicely quoted. With all this, it is not possible for us to remember anything on top of our mind. How much ever smart, how much ever sharp we are again conditioned by death, old age, and disease. And we do not have the propensity to remember everything that is spoken. So Vyasadeva realized this. He foresaw that, people will not remember. And hence he decided to write Srimad Bhagavatam. And who assisted him in writing so? Ganeshji assisted. And who's Vyasadeva? Vyasadeva himself is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he himself decided, saying that I should give this knowledge and it should be in a form which they will understand, they will remember, they will keep it. So in case whenever they forget, they can refer it back. So in this verse, it is very clearly said, Aporeshaya. It is not given by any born person. That means the person who's not born, Aporeshaya. It's not a human being, it's not a demigod, it's not a Brahma or anybody. It is given by Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. It is so exciting that the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is authoring this book. God himself is writing his own pastimes. So whenever we go out to a bookshop or to a library, when we pick up a book, we immediately read about the author to know how many books he's written, what he writes on, and what is the subject matter and all of that. So we don't read the book. Before we read the book, we read about the author. So likewise, it is very important here. Krishna himself, God himself is writing this book. It's so exciting, he's writing about himself. So we should be really excited to read such books which are authored by Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. There are two ways of understanding a person. There could be something that we could speculate about a person. So here, for example, we could, if I want to understand about, Revati Leela Prabhu, I could speculate that, Revati Leela Prabhu may be about 5 feet tall. Maybe he is tall, he's stout. He may have a big mustache. He may look very handsome, all of that. But this is all speculation. If I have not met Revati Leela Prabhu, or if I have not seen him, if I have not associated with him, it is possible for me to speak anything. I may even go beyond. and speak about him saying that he's so and so, he's so and so. But that is not the right knowledge. The right knowledge comes from when we ask the person about himself. Speculation does not lead us anywhere. But when we ask the person about himself, and if you hear it from the person, then you get the right knowledge. So if I go and ask Revati Lila Prabhu, he will tell me that, he's from so and so place and he has been practicing Krishna consciousness for so many days, so many years. He has been preaching to so many people. He has distributed so many books. He attends all these programs. He's so actively involved in the preaching, and especially to the Hindi-speaking people. He does programs in his factory so many times a year. All that he can give me the details. So then I will have the right information about Revati Leela Prabhu. So if we have to understand a person, we should not speculate. We should ask the person himself. How do we ask that person? It is, if he's available, then it's easy. If Revati Leela Prabhu is right in front of me, I can ask him, Prabhu, please tell me about yourself. And he would give me the details. But if he is not available in front of me, I should go reach out to a person who knows him in reality. Who knows him in reality? Who knows Krishna in reality? Who knows Supreme Personality of Godhead in reality? It is only Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras which know Krishna in reality. So I should go to that person and ask him, could you tell me about Krishna? Could you tell me about Supreme Personality of Godhead? And hear about it attentively. It's not that I ask the question and then, I look around here and there and I don't focus on what they are saying. So which is where we have to hear very, very attentively, because if we have to gain knowledge, it is very important that we hear attentively. And only when we hear attentively, the true knowledge will be revealed to us. It will be told to us and we will realize that. Here, Brahma is also revealed the knowledge. Krishna himself gave this knowledge to Brahma. It is said, Adi Kavaye, the first created being. He is a poet himself. Adi, the first one. Kavaye is a poet, the first created being. Krishna spoke to him from within his heart. How is it possible? Everybody has Paramatma sitting in their heart. And then Krishna spoke to Brahma. Because if we look at Brahma, when Brahma was born, he was in complete ignorance. And most intelligent human being, that is what we call Brahma. How can he be born with ignorance? How is it possible is the question that we really look at it. Is it possible? Yes, Brahma was born in complete ignorance and he did not know anything. Then he got this knowledge, or he got this revelation from Krishna. And how did he get this revelation? Because he obeyed the instructions of Krishna. Krishna told him, Tapa, Tapa, Tapa. When Brahma heard this, he followed it meticulously. He did tapasya, and then he was revealed the true knowledge. Tene Brahma Hridaya. Yeah, in his heart, Brahma got this knowledge. The knowledge was revealed in his heart. And if you look at Bhagavad Gita 15.5, says very clearly in the second half of it, Vedeschu sarva aham eva vaidyo. Vedanta krit vedetva chaham. Krishna says, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedas. So Krishna himself says, I have compiled all the Vedas, and I am supposed to be known by all of you. If you come to me, I will give you remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Everything I'm giving you. So how is spiritual knowledge revealed? Like this, we get spiritual knowledge from Krishna, and it was first revealed to Brahma. Krishna has given us these instructions. He says, follow me. Where does he say this? In Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam piti purvakam dadati buddhi yogam tam yene mamupayanti te. Krishna says, to those who are constantly devoted. These are words that we have to underline as devotees. Those who are constantly devoted. Constant is very, very important. It's not that, I chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once in a way and then, forget about it. And then again, after a year or so, when I'm in trouble, I take up the chanting beads and then say, okay, I chanted Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then, why is problem coming to me? No. Those who are constantly devoted in serving me with love. This is the most important underlining statement. With love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. But you have to serve me with love. I will give him the knowledge, and this is the qualification. Yeah, when we love, unflinching love, which we call it as, when we give that love to Krishna, then we become qualified to get this knowledge. Instead of serving Maya, see, we have to serve somebody or the other. Yeah. So instead of serving Maya, why don't we serve Krishna? Anyway, I have to serve. So let me serve the highest. Let me serve the best person that I can think of. Why should I really look at serving something which is inferior? When I talk about inferior, it is the inferior energy of the Lord. Maya is the inferior energy of the Lord. Why should I serve Maya? Let me serve the best. You know, we always think about it. अगर मुझे गाड़ी चलाना है तो सबसे अच्छा गाड़ी चलाओ. मैं खटारा गाड़ी को चलाऊंगा, सबसे अच्छा गाड़ी चलाऊंगा. If I have to travel by air, let me travel by business class. Why should I travel by, the economy class? So when the knowledge is given to us, why should we really compromise on that? And if we have to serve somebody, let me serve somebody who's very, very important, who's the top class, So if I have to serve, by default, my nature is serve. I have to serve. And I have to serve Krishna rather than serving Maya. If this knowledge is revealed to us, then we can go back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. When this knowledge, as I said, it should be, we are not able to meet the person. So we get this knowledge through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And when this knowledge is revealed to us, we go back home, back to Godhead. In Brahma Samhita, Brahma says, Advaitam Achutam Anadi Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Madurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. It says, I worship Govinda, the primordial Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not a subject to decay, and is without a beginning, and whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of looming youth. So, yeah, very clearly it is saying, I have to serve Krishna. I have to only serve Krishna. Yeah. Brahma himself is saying that I am serving Krishna, and Krishna is eternal Purusha. So if you want this knowledge, if you want to serve Krishna with love and devotion, if you want this knowledge, you have to serve Krishna with love and devotion service. Krishna has made this arrangement for us. He, keeps everything ready for us. It is for us to take it up seriously and then take it forward from there. It is like, Hindi, there's a very nice proverb. आप घोड़े को नदी तक ले जा सकते पर पानी नहीं पिला सकते. Krishna has made this knowledge available to us. We have to take it now. He has also given us the process how to take up this knowledge. But it is our endeavor which is required to take up this knowledge. And Krishna has made all the arrangements for us. So Vyasadeva has given us Srimad Bhagavatam. All that we have to do is hear it attentively. Automatically love and devotion will develop. Sorry. So we can hear. All of us can do that. We don't need any qualification. We have to attentively hear this. And by doing so, we can perfect our service to him. And then we develop devotional service to him. That is Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam, 12th canto, 13th chapter, there's the shloka number 18. Srimad Bhagavata Purana Amalam. Yeah, very clearly says, Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless Purana. It is most dear to the Vaishnavas because it describes the pure and supreme knowledge of the Paramahamsas. This Bhagavatam reveals the means for becoming free from all material work. Together with the process of transcendental knowledge, renunciation and devotion, anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Bhagavatam itself is confirming this. Vyasadeva himself is confirming this. Srimad Bhagavatam Purana Amalam Yad Vaishnavamsya Priya. So, it is very clearly stated that anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost knowledge. So for developing and reading the propensity, we will get everything. How to become detached. Now, how do we really become detached, or how do we grow our bhakti? It is a very simple process. It says, I must hear attentively, as this is the highest knowledge, and it will liberate me, which is the goal of the human form of life. So that is why this hearing is very, very important. It is called Shruti. Hearing is very, very important. Srila Prabhupada quotes this very nicely, saying that how do we hear? So Srila Prabhupada gives an answer to it, or quotes this in one of the lecture. He says we should not be hearing from a professional reciter. We should hear from a person who has realized. And we have to be meek and humble. What do you mean by meek and humble? You can't define a person as meek and humble by just looking at it. So a person who is meek and humble, who accepts it from a realized soul. We should not speculate. I accept whatever is said is the meaning of meek and humble. And by only this process, we can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. We are very fortunate that in this age, this process of getting liberated is just by hearing. We can go back home to God, back to Godhead, just by hearing. Hearing is very difficult, and hearing attentively is even more difficult. But we should try and constantly remember that I have to hear attentively, I have to hear attentively, I have to hear attentively. Every day morning, I have to hit myself, saying that मुझे आज अच्छी तरह सुनना है, मुझे अच्छी तरह ध्यान देना है. I have to hear attentively. Only then this will come. And every time my mind goes out, when I'm hearing something, it goes out to another place, I should pull back my mind and focus on hearing. It is like tortoise. What happens when the tortoise is moving around and finds that there is some kind of a danger? It withdraws itself, its all limbs, and go under the shell. Likewise, we realize it very well that this is the only process. Hearing attentively is the only process, and this is the only way that I can go back home, back to Godhead. Every time that I see a danger of my mind going elsewhere, I should pull back my mind and focus again on hearing. That's the only way that we can really do it. So I would like to summarize whatever we discussed. I'm sorry, I have a bad throat. My apologies. So we started the shloka or the discussion today by understanding what the chapter was all about. And the chapter, as we said, is the fundamental principles of material nature. And Kapila Dev is speaking about this to his mother as to how material nature came into existence. And then followed by, we saw that in this particular verse, how the sound came into existence. And how this sound, when it came to existence, there are two types of sound: material sound, which is the cause of entanglement, and spiritual sound. So spiritual topics, when they are spoken, it becomes the cause of freedom. We can get freed from the material pangs. If we approach sound in the spiritual world, we can end all the miseries that we are having. And hearing is very, very important. For material knowledge also, we go to the schools. Likewise, when we go to the school, we hear from a proper source. Likewise, in the spiritual life also, we have to hear it from a bona fide person. And then we saw that it should come in parampara. In Bhagavad Gita 4.2, it says, the supreme science was spoken, received through the chain of disciplic succession. So we get knowledge from parampara, which is started by Krishna himself. And then we also discussed as to why Bhagavad Gita is called our Bhagavad Gita, published by ISKCON or published by Srila Prabhupada, is called Bhagavad Gita as it is, because we don't change the knowledge, we don't speculate. It is coming from in the parampara, and whatever Krishna has spoken is what is spoken in our Bhagavad Gita. And so parampara hearing is perfect. That's the descending process of hearing, and material knowledge is ascending because of four defects: imperfect senses, cheating propensity, committing mistakes, and tendency for illusion. Then Vedic knowledge which came from hearing is called Shruti. And in the past, people were very sharp, so they could hear all the shlokas and memorize it at one go. Likewise, we heard the example of the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, which were memorized by Sutta Goswami, and they were repeated to all the rishis and all the devotees at Naimisharanya just by hearing once from Shukadev Goswami. So, again, the quality of the material life is, we are Manda Sumada Matayo, Manda Bhagya Hai Patrutya. So, we have very short life, quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all that, we are disturbed. So, it is not possible for us to remember. So, Vyasadeva realized this and he gave us the Srimad Bhagavatam in form of written. Ganeshji wrote it. And in this shloka, it is also spoken about how this knowledge was given. It was given by Krishna himself. And it is said it is apaurishaya. It is not given by, or it is not born out of a person. And two ways of understanding a person: speculate or ask the person. So here, as we see here, Brahma also gets revealed this knowledge. And this is spoken to him by Krishna in his heart. Okay. And how was it spoken to him? He followed all the instructions, and that is why he got this knowledge completely. Tene Brahma Rida. So he got this knowledge, and this knowledge was revealed to him from Krishna because he obeyed all the instructions. So likewise, we have to also, Krishna is sitting in our heart and we have to listen to him. We are not able to meet him, but then we can take this knowledge from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And Krishna is the compiler of all the Vedas. And he has given this instructions very nicely in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, where he says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come back to me. I've given the knowledge, and this is the qualification that one gets to get the knowledge by attentive hearing. And Brahma also again says that, that this is obtainable only by pure devotional service. If you want knowledge, you have to serve Krishna with love and devotion. And Krishna made all these arrangements for us. Vyasadeva gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. Likewise, we go to the end of it. Srila Prabhupada very nicely summarizes this, saying that Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost knowledge. So by developing and reading, we will get everything. And Srila Prabhupada says how one should hear. He should not hear from a professional. He should hear it from a realized person and be meek and be humble. So, and accept whatever is said. By this process, only one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead easily. And we are fortunate that in this age of Kali, we've got the process of getting liberated just by hearing. We can go back home, back to Godhead. And hearing attentively is difficult, but we should try constantly. Remember that I have to hear attentively. And one fine day, we will be able to hear attentively. And as and when our mind runs here and there, we should go back and pull it backwards to say that, yes, I should hear attentively. So we will end our discussion on this particular shloka. If devotees have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If there are any comments, I'll be happy to accept them. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. So if there are any questions, I can take some questions, or if there are any comments, please go ahead.
हरे कृष्ण जी, बहुत प्रणाम। बहुत धन्यवाद गुरु जी, बहुत
हरे
अच्छा
कृष्णा,
समझाया।
धन्यवाद। आप लोग आए उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
आपने
आपका कोई सवाल हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं प्रभु जी, मैं जवाब की कोशिश करूंगा या फिर पूछ के बता दूंगा आपको।
जैसे आपने बताया कि कछुआ का बारे में, तो इंग्लिश राधापति गोरखनाथ को कई क्लास सुन रहा था, तो जो अभी हम भाव प्राप्त करते हैं वही अंत समय में भाव आता है। अभी आपने बोला कि जहाँ हमारा इंद्रिय डायरेक्शन से वापस उसको लेके आना है, तो हम सुनने के समय सब कुछ हम वो क्या ध्यान में रहता है। जब हम लोग जैसे हम मैदान में उतरते हैं उसमें तो सब कुछ वो हमारा भाव और कहीं रहता है और कहीं हम भाव में रहते हैं। उसको मतलब कैसे उसको बनाए रखें, कैसे उसको तत्परता में रखें?
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है प्रभु जी आपका। एक बात तो हमको जानना है कि हम लोग सब इस भौतिक जीवन में है, तो भौतिक जीवन से हम जुड़े हुए हैं, हम काम करते हैं, हम अपना धंधा करते हैं, नौकरी करते हैं, जो भी करते हैं, घर में भी काम करते हैं, तो हम भौतिक लोगों से मिलते हैं, तो उनका जो कॉन्शियसनेस है वो हमारे दिमाग में भी आ जाता है। तो उसके हिसाब से हम काफी बार, बहुत सारी बार हम लोग काफी सारी चीजों को इग्नोर करते हैं या भूल जाते हैं, जान करके करते हैं या फिर अनजाने में करते हैं। तो इसमें एक बात श्रील प्रभुपाद ने वापस बताया है यहाँ पर कि हमको अटेंटिवली सुनना चाहिए, तो वो पहली बात है। और अटेंटिवली सुनने के बाद में भी वहां पे बताया कि मंद सुमंद मतयो, हमारी जो याददाश्त है वो थोड़े समय तक ही रहती है। तो याददाश्त अगर हमारी थोड़े समय तक रहती है तो हमें क्या करना चाहिए, उसको बार बार सुनना चाहिए। जैसे मैं आज कुछ सुनता हूं, मैं 3 दिन बाद भूल जाऊंगा, तो मुझे उसी चीज को वापस में 3 दिन बाद सुनूंगा तो मुझे याद रहता रहेगा। अगर हम लोग देखते हैं कि हम लोग जब स्कूल में थे तो हमें पहाड़े पढ़ाए जाते थे, 2 2 जा 4, 2 3 जा 6 वगैरह वगैरह। तो पहली बार में हमको नहीं आते थे, तो हमारी जो टीचर क्या करते थे, हमको बोलते थे कि आप इसको 10 बार लिख के आओ, आप इसको 10 बार बोलो। रिपीटेड करने से, यानी बार बार लिखने से या बार बार सुनने से या बार बार बोलने से हमें याद रहता है। तो श्रील प्रभुपाद ने ये मैसेज बहुत अच्छी तरह दिया है कि अगर हम लोग याद नहीं रख सकते हैं तो पहला हमें पढ़ना चाहिए। पढ़ने से याद अगर नहीं होता है, पढ़ने के बाद में हमें दूसरे को बताना चाहिए, इस बात को अपने दिमाग में रखना चाहिए और दूसरे को बताना चाहिए। जैसे हम 1 2 3 4 जैसे ज्यादा लोगों को बताएंगे तो हमारे दिमाग में याद रहेगा बराबर से। तो हमें अंग्रेजी में बोलते हैं प्रैक्टिस मेक्स अ मैन परफेक्ट, कि हम अगर उसको वापस बोलते जाएंगे तो हम परफेक्ट हो जाएंगे। जैसे कि अगर मैराथन रेस हमें जीतना है तो हमें रोज सुबह उठकर उसके लिए प्रैक्टिस करनी है। उसी हिसाब से हमें श्रीमद् भागवतम भगवद गीता को रोज पढ़ना है, और पढ़ने के बाद में दूसरों के साथ, भक्तों के साथ में हमें इसके बारे में चर्चा करनी है। अगर हम चर्चा करेंगे तो उनको भी इस नॉलेज के बारे में पता चलेगा और हमें भी ये याद रहेगा कि हमने आज क्या बताया था। तो मैं जैसे याद रखूंगा कि आज रेवती लीला प्रभु से मैंने ये बात किया है, और फिर वापस 3 दिन बाद में मैं याद करूंगा कि मैंने क्या बात किया है। और अगर मुझे याद नहीं रहता तो मैं रेवती लीला प्रभु से पूछ सकता हूँ या फिर शास्त्रों में वापस जा सकता हूँ कि मैंने क्या बताया। तो उस हिसाब से हम लोग इसे याद कर सकते हैं। भूलना हमारा नेचुरल वे है, क्योंकि भौतिक जगत में हमारी मेमोरी बहुत शॉर्ट लिव्ड है प्रभु। सो रिपीटेडली हमको प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए। जैसे देखते हैं कि हम जब करते हैं, रोज 16 माला करते हैं मिनिमम। क्यों करते हैं 16 माला? क्योंकि हमें टच में रहना है कंटिन्यूस। अगर हम एक दिन करके रख दे फिर बाद में 1 साल के बाद में करेंगे तो आपको हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र भी याद बराबर से नहीं रहेगा। उसी हिसाब से श्रीमद् भागवतम को भी हमें रोज पढ़ना चाहिए, रोज उसके बारे में बताना चाहिए। मैं आशा करता हूं कि आपके सवाल का जवाब मिल गया प्रभु जी। धन्यवाद प्रभु। जय धन्यवाद। Hare Krishna. If anybody has any other questions, we can take that, or we will end the class here. I think we've come right at the time of our come to the end of our time, which is being allocated. So thank you very much for joining for this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai. श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। That's the beautiful darshan of our deities. जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। वामन देव की जय। जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय। जय श्री श्री गौरांगी बैंगलोर ईश्वर की जय। Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful darshan. Jai Jagannath Swami ki jai. Nitai Chaitanya ki jai. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल।
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा।